More on this now with Mike Gonzalez, a senior fellow at Heritage Foundation and someone who used to work in the Bush administration at the Commerce Department, though not necessarily on this issue. So this question has not been asked since 1950. So it is a change, and I can understand both points of view. Like, why would you not ask it? And the concern of, well, why are you asking it now? What do you think?
Well, I think it was asked without any controversy continuously between 1890 and 1950. That's the period of the highest percentage of the foreign population in this country, by the way. There's no proof that it prevented anybody from voting then. And it has been asked since 1950 in the long form, which was then replaced by the American Community Survey. So, and again, as you already said, it did not, the critics of this, there's no evidence that it prevents voting. The critics don't really have any evidence to point to. And the Attorney General of California, Javier Becerra, has sued, saying it's unconstitutional, but it was never unconstitutional before, and in fact, it was first proposed by Thomas Jefferson in 1800 and was first asked in the fourth census of 1820. This is plainly not unconstitutional.
Well, the Attorney General of California, Javier Becerra, who's there on your screen, he just filed that lawsuit moments ago. He signaled this morning that he would do that. I have a feeling, Mike, that this is going to become basically a litmus test for Democratic presidential candidates going into 2020. Take a listen to what Judge Napolitano, who said earlier on our air regarding Congress's role in all of this. Watch.
Congress has not yet voted on whether or not they want this in the census. Remember,
they have to sign off on it?
Yes, they have to sign off. They're supposed to sign off on it by Saturday, but they're not in session this week, and they're not in session next week. They'll eventually sign off on it. Guess what? You have a right to remain silent. The census taker comes to your door, you say, bye-bye. I'm here, I'm alive, one person, 5 people in the house, leave us alone.
And then take a listen to what Carolyn Maloney, who's a congresswoman, said. I'm sorry, not listen, I will read it to you. She said, this bill will protect the integrity of the census, our nation's largest peacetime undertaking, by making sure that topics and questions included in the census are properly vetted and not added at the last minute. The data from the census affects the way federal and state funds are distributed and district lines are drawn, and helps businesses grow and nonprofits better serve their communities. I think that a concern about that, Mike, is that if you are here illegally, you do not deserve congressional representation. I understand being concerned that somebody would be undercounted, but federal resources shouldn't be expended on people who are not here legally.
Right, but there are just another look. Their point is that everybody, whether they're citizens or not, use services and are entitled to representation. But they really have to look at the fact that in districts where there's a large percentage of illegal immigrants and non-citizens, the vote of the people who are citizens is much more powerful than in other districts where everybody's a citizen. Listen, this is a very small change. The critics are hyperventilating. The census actually needs to go much further and get rid of the questions on ethnicities that were created by the census in the first place. And the census is an important statement on who we are as a country. And it is better in a civic-minded constitutional republic to say to count who's a citizen or not than to count by race or made-up ethnicities. So actually, the administration, this is a very small step. It needs to go much further than just asking a question on citizenship, although it's a good question.
Mike, could you expand on that? Why would you think it's a good idea to remove questions about ethnicity?
Well, first of all, the census itself created these ethnicities, right? The census and other bureaucratic entities in the 1970s created Hispanics, created Asians. Asians, for example, includes people who are from the subcontinent, Pakistan and India, and people who are Korean and Chinese or Laotian. People with very different cultural indicators, very different rates of heart disease, very different household income, very different educational levels. These are completely, synthetic groups that the census has no business asking a question about because they were created out of a whole cloth. So it's better not to ask a question on these groups and to ask a question on citizenship, which has been done in the past for decades and decades without any problem. I don't even see how this is part of the ritualistic condemnation of everything the administration tries to move forward.
Well, it's certainly not a new controversy. I mean, this has been around for a little while, and the Voting Rights Act certainly not without controversy as well. But we're glad that you were here to help explain it to us. Mike Gonzalez of the Heritage Foundation, thank you.
Thank you.